Nobody is going to tell you this, not your friends, not your family, not the people who smile at you every single day. Here is what science actually found. Research in social psychology suggests that up to 90% of human relationships are fundamentally transactional, and the ones that are not, the rare ones that feel genuinely selfless, are still filtered through what the other person needs from the connection. That is not a theory, that is how the brain is wired. And if you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, if you have ever given everything and ended up with nothing, if you have ever thought, am I the only one who sees this? You were not crazy, you were just paying attention. Here are 10 realities of human nature that most people spend their entire lives refusing to accept. Stay until the end, because the last one reframes everything that came before it. Chapter 1. People do not love you, they love how you make them feel. In 1943, psychologist Abraham Maslow published his hierarchy of needs. At its core was one uncomfortable truth. Human beings are fundamentally driven by self-interest. Every relationship, every connection is filtered through one question the brain asks without your permission: what does this person do for me? Think about the most important relationship in your life right now. Now ask yourself, do they love you? Or do they love the version of you that makes their life easier, more comfortable, more validated? Because the moment you stopped performing, stopped fixing, giving, supporting, did they stay? Psychologists call this effective reciprocity. We respond to people based on the emotional state they produce in us, not who they actually are. The love that feels unconditional almost never is. The moment that feeling stops, so does the love. Chapter 2. The happiest looking people are often fighting the darkest battles. On August 11th, 2014, Robin Williams was found dead at his home. The man who had made hundreds of millions of people laugh, who had spent his entire career being the source of joy for the strangers, was quietly battling severe depression, Lewy body dementia, and a level of internal pain that nobody around him fully understood. After his death, his wife Susan Schneider said he was not the person everyone saw on stage. Psychologists call this smiling depression, a clinical pattern where individuals present outwardly positive affect while experiencing severe internal distress. The performance of happiness becomes a coping mechanism. Showing pain feels more dangerous than hiding it. The person who laughs the loudest in the room is sometimes the one who cries completely alone. And here is what connects this to everything that follows. The people hiding the most pain are often the most skilled at making you feel good, which means the people you trust most might be the people you actually know least. Chapter 3. Some friends are just enemies without a reason yet. In 2011, Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes had a boardroom full of powerful, loyal supporters, investors, advisors, friends who publicly vouched for her vision. The moment her company began collapsing, the moment choosing her meant losing something for them, every single one of them disappeared. Some testified against her. Psychologist Robert Cialdini calls this the principle of social proof combined with self-preservation. Loyalty is not a character trait. It is a cost-benefit calculation that runs in the background of every relationship. Most people stay loyal as long as it costs them nothing. Guard yourself accordingly. Chapter 4. When you are broken, the world does not stop. In 2008, when the financial crisis collapsed the global economy, millions of ordinary people lost their homes, their savings, their jobs overnight. And the world kept moving, Wall Street recovered, bonuses were paid, life continued for those who were not in the wreckage. Psychologists studying mass trauma call this compassion fatigue, the human brain's inability to sustain empathy beyond its immediate social circle. We are neurologically designed to care deeply about very few people and superficially about everyone else. Real empathy, the kind where someone actually sits with your pain, is extraordinarily rare. What you get instead is indifference dressed up as sympathy. Stop waiting to be rescued. The only person pulling you out of the dark is you. Chapter 5. The moment you stop being useful, people stop pretending to care. In 2009, after his NFL career began declining, retired wide receiver Terrell Owens spoke publicly about how quickly his entire network evaporated. The call stopped, the invitation stopped, the concern stopped. He said, "You find out who your real friends are when you have nothing left to give." Social exchange theory, developed by sociologist George Homans, explains this precisely. Every relationship operates on an implicit exchange of resources: emotional, financial, social. The moment that exchange becomes imbalanced, the moment you stop providing more than you take, The relationship loses its function for the other party. This is not something to be bitter about. It is something to be clear-eyed about. Give your energy only to people who give back without keeping score. We are halfway through, and Chapter 6 is the one that explains why the pain from all of this never fully goes away, no matter how much time passes. Chapter 6. Trauma does not disappear, it waits. You think you are over it. Then someone uses one specific tone, says one particular phrase, and suddenly you are not a grown adult anymore. You are right back in that room, that moment, that feeling. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux's research on the amygdala showed that traumatic memories are stored differently from ordinary memories. They bypass the hippocampus, the brain's rational processing center, and embed directly into emotional memory. This means trauma does not get processed through logic. It gets triggered by sensory cues, a smell, a sound, a tone of voice. Time does not heal trauma. Processing heals trauma, and most people never process. They just bury it and spend years wondering why it keeps surfacing at the worst possible moments. Chapter 7. People lie to themselves more than they lie about. At the University of Waterloo, participants consistently rated themselves as more objective, more fair, and more rational than average, even when presented with direct evidence of their own bias. The brain does not want truth. It wants consistency with the story it has already built about itself. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning. The mind constructs logic not to find truth, but to protect the ego from painful conclusions. Most people you meet are not living in reality. They are living in a story they wrote to make themselves the hero or the victims or both. And the most dangerous part? They believe every word of it. Chapter 8. Some people hurt you just to feel powerful. In psychology, this behavior has a clinical name, coercive control, and it is far more common than most people want to believe. Research by psychologist Lundy Bancroft documented hundreds of cases where individuals systematically caused emotional pain not from anger, but from a need to establish dominance and control. And when confronted, they consistently rewrote the narrative to position themselves as the victim. Some people cause pain simply because it gives them a sense of power over something. Chapter 9 is the one that changes how you think about recovering from this permanently, because everything you have been told about healing is wrong. Chapter 9. The mind does not heal, it rewires. Neuroscientist Michael Merzenich spent decades studying neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to physically restructure itself in response to experience. His research showed that trauma does not disappear from the brain, it changes it. New neural pathways form around the experience, old ones weaken. The brain reorganizes itself to survive what it went through. You do not get over things, you get through them and come out structurally different. Not broken, reorganized. The idea that one day you will wake up and feel exactly like you did before is neurologically impossible because you are not the same brain. And once you accept that, the question stops being, when will I go back to normal, and starts being, who am I becoming? Chapter 10. Sometimes being alone is not loneliness, it is survival. The most underrated form of intelligence is knowing when to remove yourself. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research on sensory processing sensitivity found that highly aware individuals are significantly more affected by their social environment than average. The wrong people do not just drain them, they actively damage their cognitive clarity, emotional regulation, and decision-making capacity. Solitude is not isolation, it is recalibration. Some of the most accurate thinking, some of the most honest self-awareness, only happens when the noise of other people's needs, opinions, and energy is completely removed. If the people around you are diminishing you, being alone is not the problem, it is the answer. Closing. Here is what these 10 things actually add up to. The world is not as kind as you were told. Loyalty is rarer than it appears. Healing is not linear. And some of the people closest to you are running calculations you will never see. But knowing this, really knowing this, is not depressing. It is clarifying. If you watched our money psychology video, you already know that everything we covered there applies here too. The same transactional wiring that controls your relationships controls your financial decisions. It is all connected. Because once you see people as they actually are, not as you need them to be, you stop being blindsided. You start making choices from reality instead of hope. You stop pouring yourself into relationships that were never going to hold what you gave them, and you start building something that actually lasts.